Knights now with a really strong performance against Elevate. Really is trending up for Sinister, cementing themselves as definite top 4 contenders.
Living started in 2013 after we lost a very good man in the name of Dwayne Lally to a mental illness. They say death by suicide affects 115 people, but you can't even put a number on it. The ripple effect that the loss of one life had on thousands of people far outweighed what I've ever experienced in my entire life.
I received a call saying he'd gone missing. I was driving around the whole of the Gold Coast looking for him. I had no idea where to find him.
Dwayne was an avid boxing man, very talented, life of the party, very charismatic, extremely passionate.
Loving, loyal, he was very cheeky.
Mental illness is costing many people their lives every single day. While I'm sitting here speaking, people are taking their life, and it's because there's people suffering in silence.
1 in 5 people suffer from some form of mental illness, and suicide is the leading cause of death between the ages of 15 and 44.
You can look for things like not getting out of bed of a morning, being socially disconnected, loss of appetite, change in mood, change in behaviour, lack of self-esteem.
Dwayne suffered from depression and bipolar for a number of years, and the stigma kept him quiet. So we wanted to turn that negative into a positive, and if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm sure Dwayne would have done the same. We're just doing what he would have done.
Hi, my name's Dan Price. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't connect with Livin', but I certainly wouldn't be as well as I am today. I was suicidal and tried to take my life on the 4th of December 2014. I was very lucky to survive. I didn't want people to know that I was struggling because of the stigmas around mental illness.
We noticed that there were plenty of great service providers in this country, but all too common people weren't seeking help because of this stigma. So we wanted to bridge that gap.
As males, we're extremely tough. We want to be the tough people, the ones that have all the answers, the ones that don't want to admit our vulnerabilities and our weaknesses.
You might not have the answers, but if you can offer support and just listen to them, that could be what they need in that moment of time.
I was an alpha male and a popular guy, and I didn't want people to think I was weak, and that's why I love the message that Livin' presents, which is it ain't weak to speak.
We go all around the country, businesses, sporting clubs, teaching people that it ain't weak to speak. What we're really doing is educating them in how to speak, where to speak, and then we're educating people on how to listen and how to look for these warning signs, because without one, you can't really have the other. It's all about being honest and open. If something's off, just ask them.
That's what Living's all about, taking that stigma away and giving people hope, help, connection, and giving them the confidence to speak up and seek the help when they need it and when they deserve it.
We believe with education comes understanding, with understanding comes acceptance, and with acceptance comes hope.
I want to change the way the world understands, perceives and interprets mental health. Let's change the dynamics in which this is looked at. For far too long it's been a stigma. We're going to make this a dinner table conversation, the same way that we'd put our hand up and run for help if we had a broken leg.
Don't be afraid to have those, hard-hitting, confronting conversations, because it could save a life.
I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life, and Livin' has been instrumental in changing my life for the better.
If in doubt, reach out, because there's a lot of people out there that want to help and support you making that change to get back on track to start living again.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into the Oceanic Nationals. It is the last play day for the regular season. A lot on the line for a lot of these teams. It's an absolute pleasure to bring to you what should be an absolute banging lineup of matches, and we, of course, being myself, Manic, and Raven included. Raven, would you like to give a quick little recap of what has been a mental season?
It has been absolutely mental. A recap, I don't know what else to say other than absolute insanity. We have seen upsets, close games. Let's bring it up. The Friday play day before this one, we had 3 games all go 8-7 overtime. It has been madness.
It's been absolutely mental. And of course, we love to hear from you guys at home. You can go across to the socials on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Rainbow6ANZ. And if you do want to join the conversation a little bit deeper than that, of course, use the hashtag OCN. We, of course, use that whenever we're preparing for these match days, and it's great to get into those conversations. But into conversations, we must go, Raven, because we just touched on it then. Last Friday was mental, but the entire season has just been insane, and you're going to see right now what we're really talking about. It is actually really quite close between a lot of these teams.
Yeah, it is. You'll see there that there's not really much more than 3 that separates a lot of those positions, and of course right now there is a 3-way tie between 2nd and 4th place. But to really cast your eyes, the things to pay attention here is top 6 go through to playoffs, but the bottom 2, they will be in the relegation playoffs, and that is not where you want to be at all.
You really don't. It is actually quite nasty, and you can see there Rhythm and LFO fighting to get out of it. There's actually a potential situation that we'll get into a little bit later where this goes mental. But we're going to have a look at how this is going to play out in the bracket once we get to the playoffs, guys, because this is actually quite important. You'll see there seed 1, seed 2, just to the right of those initial matches in the quarterfinals. That right there is vitally important. We've kind of touched on it a little bit throughout the season, but I don't think we've really been able to dive in here, Raven, and I think you'd be the perfect person to explain how important this is, and this play day in particular.
Yeah, it really helps to have the bracket up to visualize it. So as you see, seed 1 and 2, they will get a pass straight into the semifinals there of the upper bracket, which means they do get to take a chance with the lower bracket as well. Whereas those quarterfinals, they don't lead down to that lower bracket. So if you bail out in the quarterfinals, that is your Oceanic Nationals season done. So that 1st and 2nd seed has a whole lot of extra value because it banks you that semi-final straight away.
Yep, there's a fair bit going on the line there. So we're talking about how much is really at stake, and there's no better place to start than the lineups, the matchups that we will be playing through tonight. The first match, Wildcard and Okami, that is for first seed, ladies and gentlemen, and there is no doubt about it. It is going to be a close one. Next, we then go on to the Pittsburgh Knights and Rhythm, with Rhythm still having an opportunity to potentially kind of claw their way out of playoffs. It's very complicated, and we'll get to it once we get to it. We really don't want to go too deep into the potential outcomes, Raven. That Noble Elevate game, though, I think that'll be an absolute banger. What do you think?
Yeah, it will, because this is more of a mid-table fight, but this is potentially going to decide who 3rd seed might be. And you might think, oh, 3rd, that's not overly special, it's in the middle. But as you saw in that playoffs bracket, if you're in 3rd place, you actually get to play 6th first, which is, in theory, the weaker team coming into playoffs. So 3rd place doesn't look so bad if you can't actually break into that top 2.
Yep, there's quite a bit to play for. And with LFO and Ferox, I mean, it's very obvious right now. Both of those teams are at the bottom of the ladder. I believe 8th or 7th and 6th, respectively. This could potentially be the fight out of relegation and into the Oceanic playoffs. I can't stress enough how important that is, and it will rely heavily on that game against the Pittsburgh Knights and how that all forms. So when I said earlier that there are so many possible outcomes for tonight, I mean it. There are literally I think there's like 8 or 9 different outcomes that could completely shake up the standings that we saw literally little less than 2 minutes ago, Raven.
Yeah, look, our League Ops staff have been very busy in the background mapping out all the different scenarios. It's gone right over my head. There are so many. It's really hard to track all. We'll try our best throughout the night, and it just shows that every match tonight, even though it looked kind of clear-cut in the standings, it all has weight in one way or another. Every match counts tonight, and given that it's the last match before the playoffs, there's a lot on the line here.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of importance and a lot of pressure being put on some of these teams. And speaking of that, we will go into the first matchup. This is going to be the matchup of that top seed place. We're going to be looking at Wildcard first, a team that we know full well by heads and shoulders have been the best in ANZ region for quite some time. Recently, their form has kind of taken a little bit of a shake-up, if you will. Obviously, Vinny now joining this season in the absence of what was the best player in Australia and New Zealand in the last season, Ethan. And this is what we have, the roster that we've come to know and love, and I'm sure many viewers at home would know quite well.
Yeah, definitely a household name, if you want to call them that, within the Oceanic region. They have still risen to the top. Like you said, they have had some shaky form, but I tell you who has not been shaky from this season, that has been Gio. He had probably the best game I think I've seen him have on Friday, and that's on top of a very consistent, strong season from him in general. So keep your eye out on Gio, because he really has been Wildcard's new X factor, as you said, since Ethan has left.
Yep. There's a big role needed to be filled there for Wildcard, and I think he's done it spot on so far. And speaking of, spot on, Okami toward the end of this season, guys, I cannot tell you how much they've turned it around. We were looking at the second and third matchups and thinking, oh no, this could be Okami, potentially even looking at relegation playoffs with how they were performing, 3-7 against Ferox, 3-7 against Elevate, but it all turned mid-season, and now they are playing for a number one spot here.
Yeah, they really are within a shot of number one. That is a genuine reality here for Okami, and I was saying it on the Reload last night, our esports show. I am still a little stunned that Okami have managed to have such an astounding 180 to get themselves in this position. It is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, and I think that's really the credit is due, and we have given them enough credit. And this right now, this is the determining factor, realistically. This is the last point, the last hurdle for them in what could be an incredible comeback from a shaky start to the season. And to be honest, I think things just started clicking for them, right? It's just, it felt like everything just came together on that fourth play day.
It did. It just, something has just snapped within them, and it's just working. Specker in particular has really started to find some comfort. I mean, he hadn't played the game for a while before rejoining the roster, so I guess you could forgive a bit of shakiness from him at the start of the season, but the last couple of play days in particular, he started really being on fire for Okami. And then, of course, I really want to highlight Cutie. For me, has been their MVP, because he's one of their most consistent performers in a bit of a hybrid flex role, often support, sometimes a fragger on a sledge, for example.
Yeah, and I think that really they have done well at putting those pieces together and slotting it on that puzzle board, making sure that everything fits nicely. The vetoes are going to be quite important here. We were talking about it on the Reload last night, Raven. We were saying that this could potentially come down to the map veto and the bans of the operators that we see. We've seen 3 Oregon maps from Okami straight and 2 from Clubhouse on the side of Wildcard. Where are your thoughts headed in terms of where we're going?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe Cafe or Clubhouse. From what we know, Wildcard don't seem that keen on playing Oregon. I don't think they'll take the likes of Okami to a map like Coastline or even Villa that they've performed well on before. So I think that's where Wildcard will lean. Maybe Consulate might sneak through.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see a consulate between these two teams. I think that a Wildcard have played incredibly well on it this season. Cafe, not interested at all from Okami. You see, I feel like these are the bands. Ooh, wow. Okay. This will, just for you guys at home, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the 4th map in a row that Okami has played on Oregon. And just to give context there, they beat LFO 7-4, they beat Noble 7-3, and then they went on to beat Knights in an overtime series 8-7. So there are plenty of VODs to have been watched over from Wildcard. And on the flip side, you would have to say that Okami are feeling comfortable in officials on this map.
I mean, that's definitely one way to look at it. Okami have played a lot of officials on the map. It's generally been quite successful for them. So they can really come into this feeling confident. On the other hand, though, Wildcard haven't played this in an official this season. So there's no VODs to counter anything on. And on top of that, Wildcard have all those VODs on Okami, and Wildcard is a great counter-stratting team with a bit more structure behind them. So, I don't know, I fear a little bit for Okami. I did last week too, though, against Knights, and they managed to pull out the win there. So, there's no reason why they couldn't do it again.
No, and they will have to back it up, obviously, because we gave full kudos to Okami. We saw them get counter-stratted literally within the first 2-3 rounds. We thought, oh no, this is it. Okami, we know them as a momentum-based team, and we were starting to get a little bit worried for them. We were starting to see potentially the cracks open, and the third round, man, they just came back, and really from there, it was one of the closest series that we've had throughout all of the play days. And I think that anything shy of that in this matchup, especially considering the form of Wildcard, they're not the Wildcard that we know right now. They kind of seem a little bit wounded, especially after that 8-7 win over Ferox on Friday.
Yeah, they do feel a touch, I guess wounded is a good way to put it. They haven't seemed themselves most of the season. They have come back with a little bit of form. They had a dominant win against Elevate, for example. There was another one in there. It's totally fleeting my brain right now. But regardless, they have at least shown signs of that form returning. But yeah, Friday's match against Ferox was just a bit scary.
Yeah, and potential cracks to leak into this one. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a look at the snowball predictions because I think that will give us a good idea as to how this goes. Man, Ducky is always out here with his wild-ass predictions. He really is gunning for that wooden spoon. I mean, once again, I just want to touch on how ridiculously close this season is. And I don't think that's because we're all great people in terms of predictions. I think it's because this season has just been utterly mental, and it just goes to show that it's kept it really tight.
It has. It's been very tough to predict, honestly. I mean, if you want to break it down, by the end of today, we'll have 28 matches played. Right now, majority of us are at like around 50% correct. So that demonstrates it's been quite the 50-50 season.
Yeah, and there's been, I think I just did the research before, and I'm trying to think of the top of my head, 10 matches out of 24, so you know, just shy of 50% have been full regulation or overtime, which I mean, when you looked at like the results from last season, yeah, there were a lot of close matches, but for me, it just, I could never have predicted the fact that all of these teams would have put up great results. You know, you look at the seasons of people like Ferox and Rhythm, even LFO with, you know, some of their losses that they've copped. All of these teams have taken to the best teams of our region. And I think that is summarized perfectly in the correction of the scores.
Yeah, look, it has, and it's just been a great display of Oceanic Siege in general, because even teams that we were writing off at the start, expecting not to do well, teams like Rhythm, I mean, sure, they're still bottom 2, but they've had so many of those close games that you referenced themselves. Yeah. Like, they went overtime with Wildcard, they went overtime with Knights. Like, it's been nuts. And that's a great thing to see. And even LFO, who haven't had a great season either, they've had some big wins against stronger teams, like the Elevate win last week, for example. Yeah, really out of the bag, and that was a 7-4. They looked quite comfortable in that victory.
Yeah, they did, and I think that really, like, we were writing them off at that stage. It was like, this is do or die. You don't perform today, and it's over. Even when we were saying that, it was kind of going along the same lines of like, they need to perform and really well. They need to convince us that there's an opportunity, and they did. So I think that's really kind of summarized what's happening there. And potentially, when you look at the season of Wildcard, you know, like so many close matches, they've had 3 overtimes, 1 versus Noble, 1 versus Rhythm, and 1 versus Ferox. I think it is going to show what is happening in the region right now, which is really starting to close that gap in terms of the skill. But ladies and gentlemen, we get a little bit more of a deep dive here for what will be the first seed matchup. It is Okami taking on Wildcard, and this could potentially really get these teams off running quite well for the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. Like we highlighted at the start of the show, first and second seed, it's not just a matter about finishing at the top and positioning yourself well. It's actually locking you into the semifinals and allowing you to have the potential lower bracket run if things don't go well in that first game. So a safety blanket, be it, and you want to be in that spot coming into playoffs.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting as well, it kind of feels like there's a lot on the line for Okami specifically. Obviously, you know, good season. They've been backing it up. It's starting to really look quite good. But the fact is they're tied with Knights and Noble in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. So if they lose this, they actually opt to potentially have to play a quarterfinals instead of going straight to the semis. So this does actually start to amount into a little bit more of a more targeted kind of matchup, more to the favor of Okami. So the bans right now, Nomad, Thatcher, and Wamai. Do we have any thoughts, Raven, heading into the first round?
I'm seeing this Nomad ban standing out the most to me, and it was banned off by Okami. And I think that's something they've realized that Wildcard do use quite a lot of. They like to have that solid flank watch. But on top of that, I have to feel like it's just facilitating Okami to be able to play a bit more loose on that defense, where Wildcard need to be more careful about flank watch, maybe holding it with a drone or with a player. And, we've seen players like Ippy Style and Joker and even Cutie sometimes go on those flanks. Specker as well, also known for flanking pretty aggressively. So it's definitely something Wildcard's going to have to be keeping an eye out for in this first half.
And it was something we noticed from Joker in the 4th round, if you can cast your minds back to Friday night's match, where he was able to grab that flank and really dismantle what the Knights were trying to do. So, that's even more reason to potentially lick those chops and get ready for a very aggressive matchup. We know that Okami are fluid. We know that they're free, that their style is quite free in the way that they determine how to play, and they could bring a fair bit to this one. 75% in favor of Wildcard. Once again, I think that is just a representation of the region's knowledge, or rather the viewers' knowledge of the region, I should say.
Yeah, look, I think it's fair, and at the end of the day, Wildcard are the ones sitting on top right now, and they have overall shown more positive signs than negative, but I definitely wouldn't be writing Okami off. And to play into what we're talking about with those bans, Cutie has 6 picks off the Kaid, which is something they used heavily against the Knights, to play a Valkyrie. So they're looking for extra info. They want to be able to try and roam or be aggressive towards Wildcard. They want all that info to enable just a different playstyle.
They were hungry for that drone as well. It was the only drone taken off the board for Wildcard, potentially something Okami are looking to do. Like you said, not only are they looking to get that intel, but to potentially deny it from Wildcard to enable those more aggressive plays. And at the moment, we do only see Joker, Jack, Daddy, and Cutie on site, meaning we have... Oh, damn, Specker, you had to come back, didn't you? I was getting excited for a second there. But one thing that we do have to note is obviously that blue hold Raven. We saw it quite often on the match day on Friday.
We did, and something that we did see is that if they don't get much pressure, they'll pull away from it. And Knights exploited that. Looks like they've slightly adapted this, though. They've spread out these ADSs, so I don't think the pull away is something they'll do anymore. It's also not going to be easy for Wildcard to hard push this without taking the rear tower and the stairs control. And right now, based on outlines, doesn't look like Wildcard are looking for that.
A small little difference from their defense. Obviously, we have just watched this VOD earlier yesterday. One of the things for Okami were they had that Banshee on the other side of the rear stairs that kind of stopped a wide swing per se, and it looks like they're playing a little bit more defensive on that pillar rather than trying to engage in those fights, which we know Wildcard can really do some damage. They're not taking any time in opening up these hatches either, so a minute 30 off the clock, and they have 2 potential pressure points for now anyway, as they start to drone into Freezer.
Yeah, and this is another adaptation on the side of Wildcard. They're attacking this very differently to how the Knights attacked it. Generally, when the Knights were attacking this, it was 90% push from the rear tower stairs and in through blue. Wildcard are opting for more of a laundry and freezer push. So a lot of emphasis right now on Specker's position and holding back this push, because if Wildcard do get freezer control, especially with still so much time on the clock, it's going to be really detrimental to holding them out of laundry.
Now trying to force him back off the angle with Specker. He knows the ADS is pretty much burnt through at this point. Does decide to reposition. That could be big if they go for that. Goyo shield will, of course, burn into flames there and just deny for a little bit longer, Raven. 30 seconds as they start to take a little bit more control here.
Yeah, that C4 not hitting the mark either. I think he got stuck on the wall for Specker. This smoke's being quite the pain, but Okami are pretty spread out here, Manic. So Wildcard, giving themselves only 20 seconds, they might start to walk into a trap. Someone needs to find an opening pick here.
That they do. Vinny was looking like the linchpin there. He's gone low. Specker will swing onto him as well. 10 seconds left. The time is really running dry here for Wildcard as Emorin finally opens the things up. But Okami, they find 2 trades. Pat has to go deep and try to stick it. He can't do so. And Okami, they start off on a very nice round.
They do. And look, I've got a red flag raised already. This is almost exactly the big issues we saw from Wildcard with Clubhouse. Just these very slow pushes. They're not giving themselves enough. They had freezer control just after that minute. And I thought, okay, this is great. Like, they can cut the rotate in through to laundry. They can drone it out. They'll have to get aggressive in that point, but they stalled and stalled. They had players ready to push in both directions, but never eventuated to anything. And it's what we've seen so much out of Wildcard's attacks. And I'd say 70% of the time, it doesn't work out for them.
And to be honest, it like once upon a time it used to, right? We used to see them burn through so much of the utility from that defensive side, and by the time we got to 30, 20 seconds, Wildcard were able to explode onto site and really utilize that positioning that they'd found, but not so much. Yeah, I think you're spot on there, and it just continues to show that I think the ANZ region as a whole are really adapting from whether you call them a lower ranked team or not. Okami are definitely looking quite dangerous, and warning signs do show. However, we also need to make that mark that Wildcard did start off with a 1-5 deficit on Clubhouse on their attacking side. So no matter how deep this goes in the favor of Okami in the first half, you can never be totally sure. But Okami may just be a different beast to Ferox in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you would generally say that Okami is a different caliber team to Ferox, and I wouldn't want to be putting myself down in a deficit because Okami proved that they could attack last week on Oregon. In some of their matches already, they have shown strong on Oregon attacks. So it is a concern if Wildcard let it get a bit out of touch. It's been one round. Sure, maybe they just need to warm up, but already, a little bit worrying.
Well, that's all we can really go off, right? Is what we have seen and what we're going to continue to see. So we definitely want to be tightening that ship up for Wildcard, as once again, Okami favoring that bottom floor roam. Not so much a roam, more so just the vertical presence they'll be able to give from the security and Z areas, as Wildcard, once again, we know how long that they really drone for. That's a big kill. That is Geo going down. That is the Maverick. And from what I've heard, that was no nades either.
No, and probably info. Again, Cutie playing this Valkyrie, they've opted for more information, more intel, instead of things like the Kai Electric Claws. Like right now, their only wall denial is just Mute Jammers. And yeah, there's no Thatcher, so probably not a massive deal to get verticals to be able to deal with most of those. But Okami are playing off this intel. It's working out for them. So a little bit worrying for Wildcard. Might see them adapt to an IQ soon if they feel like it's becoming too big of an issue.
With an inkling that there is a player in security, that will confirm it, but the vertical line being held from Okami is too neat. Specker, he will finish him off, but that was the save from Joker as he tries to make his way through that doorway. Okami are looking very good right now, and it's barely out of round number 2. They have that 2-player advantage, looking to make it 3. Not just yet, Raven.
I mean, a drone went in that room before the player entered. Did they not see the holes? I'm a little gobsmacked about that situation, but Okami fully in control right now, and you're seeing it. The Wildcard stall is pretty much happening. They're having to get a new wave of drones go through, get more info, and then figure out what they're going to do. It's not favoring them at this point. 45 seconds to go. Diesel finally gets a kill for Wildcard in the round onto Specker. Gives them that little look in, but as time ticks away and Vinny gets downed, it's going to make it so much harder.
That's it. It was 1 of 2 downstairs. They will be able to annihilate Jack Daddy, who was caught. But Diesel, surely this is undoable. 30 seconds left. He has absolutely nothing in the arsenal in terms of really the support that he would need. He's got 2 smokes. I just don't think he's going to be able to find a line here that will give him any kind of advantage. Okami have locked down a second round straight. And not just that they've locked it down, Raven. They've done it so convincingly as well. Ippy Style might just get a consolation frag, which he does in the end. And really great signs so far from the Okami camp.
It is, yeah. And honestly, I'd say, if anything, it's a little bit more concerning on the side of Wildcard because Okami are setting up beautifully and they're playing it well. They're not overextending as yet. Like they're not doing anything particularly extreme to get these frags that looks really risky or that's getting them in terrible positions. But at the same time, Wildcard just seem to be really failing to read into what Okami is doing. On top of that, part of that, I guess, an example is just that frag just outside of the server room in towards the kitchen. Just that drone was in that room with the player and it didn't catch the verticals. Just I can't
potentially,
believe it happened.
yeah. I mean, the only saving grace for the side of whoever was droning was the tunnel vision on Specker being around the corner. But regardless, they also denied that entrance into kitchen from the other side, from kitchen hallway. So some worrying signs so far for Wildcard, and I mean, this would be a devastating start for them. We know that really their season has not been as clean as what they would have liked it. And Okami potentially just taking full advantage of that, knowing the play style that Wildcard have. I think of all the matches I've seen Wildcard play in 2 seasons, that game against Elevate is really the most aggressive I've ever seen them, Raven, and potentially that was something that had caught off in a mid-season play. But what's going wrong at this point? I mean, like, Wildcard are just seeming like they're shut out completely.
Yeah, I feel like they're just not able to feel comfortable. They don't look comfortable. They don't feel like, it doesn't feel like they're playing their game right now. And Okami are the ones dictating the pace. I think that's the big issue Wildcard need to try and counter here. And they're a little concerned through. Geo on this window is in a very risky position. It's a strat that we've seen a lot from Okami. It's just this hold with Mozzie with multiple pests on this window.
This time they're going to decide to go from a different side, and the drone will give them the information. Here comes the nades, and he'll be pushed into the line of Pat, who was waiting on the top. So obviously that is something we've seen from from Okami in at least the past 2 matches we've seen on Oregon. So Wildcard would have been pretty comfortable in dealing with that should they have decided to. But look at this from Cutie. Is he going to re-aggress here? Oh, this could be really dangerous if Wildcard are not expecting it.
I don't think they are either. I mean, he whiffs! Oh, Cutie! That could have been such a big opportunity for Wildcard, or for Okami even. My gosh, Pat lucky to be alive there, and they do retain control of that rear tower. Again, that's just a big indication of the way that Okami want to play. They want to be aggressive here. They want to be controlling this game and dictating the pace. This could be Wildcard's round now, though. They've got a 2-man advantage and still quite a bit of time on the clock. I think this is going to be a much better result for them. Hopefully they can close it out.
Now, Okami are going to have to hold meeting with just 3 players, and Specker being spotted out by Split there. Just more information. Ippy Style, however, he isn't at it. He will have that hatch to play around. Or you would at least assume so now as Geo starts to drone out the site. Diesel looking for that peak. And Joker just needs to be cautious here. If he falls, you would have to assume that that is the round done and dusted.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to pursue, but they do have pretty close to immediate control here. They just need to be careful about this Ippy style position in Attic. Diesel is actually inside. He's going to start getting this plant down. He's going to be able to confirm this, and actually, they're just going to flawless this round. In fact, Manic fragging it out to end it. Wildcard claw around back.
Just really great cover once they decide to go deep there with that plant. And I mean, that's the Wildcard we know, right? That is exactly what we needed to see from them. They bounce back with a 3rd round to ensure at least a 1-2 half at this point. And I think that there were no, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but no exact warning signs there for Okami. Obviously, they were just trying to play a little bit more aggressive, getting caught out, and Wildcard just reading them like a book. Potentially, we see a play from that Valk at rear stage, and there is a little bit more of a way back into that, but at the same time, Wildcard read that quite nicely.
Yeah, it's just, I think, a risk from Okami just not paying off. They tried to play Jack Dad in that very aggressive position in tower. Cutie tried to just push straight back to get a refrag or something like that, and neither of those risks worked out, and that just gave Wildcard too much of an advantage. On top of that, that site it's the 3rd site for Okami, so in theory, it's going to be their weaker of their 3 sites.
Yeah.
So like, if that's the only site they lose to their half, they're looking at a 4-2, which is still pretty decent.
Yeah. Certainly is. And Wildcard will not want to be making that same mistake twice. And unfortunately, I do have to cast your memories back to Friday, where we saw multiple times Wildcard on their attacking side just stall for too long, which gave Ferox everything that they needed in that game to I mean, one, to push it to overtime, but just to really make them sweat as it came down to the wire. And on the back of that now, I am casting my eyes here as we will be able to find out a little bit more of the play style for Wildcard should this trend continue. And we know that Okami are more than capable of doing it. The question is, Raven, did they challenge Okami enough in that first round on basement to really have a good feel for how they're playing this?
I mean, they would have gotten a good picture of most of the hold. It looked like they droned out the rear, looked like they droned out the other side and decided that Laundry Freezer was the push. They've adapted now. They're pushing completely different direction. They're going to take the rear tower. They're going to take towards blue. Immoren opening meeting hatch is going to be big, but Ippy style, he's on the roam early, hasn't been caught out. That pre-fire missed the mark, and he's going to find two. No, he's not actually shut down just by Immoren. He's been taken low. Again, Valkyrie cameras aiding in that flank.
That would have been 2 of the 3 hard breaches down, with Immoren only using 1 X-Kyro, so now they've got a little bit more to play with. Hippie style, that could have been the play. That could have been everything they needed to set them off, but it still is technically on the right foot. Geo's gone. Immoren is low. Joker and Jack Daddy both still have control of pillars into blue. As we can see now, starting to just get a little bit more antsy there on the staircase were Wildcard in Vinny's favour. As the time just ticking along nicely here.
They're starting to slowly surround and pinch these players in the pillar. With this hatch open, Jack Daddy's pretty pinched right now. There's a player holding him in just the bunker area. There's a player on the stairs, there's someone with verticals. Jack Dad just has to stay there as long as he can and kill that time. And he's doing a great job of it. Peeked out a little too aggressive then though. Immoren is going to clean him up. Less than 50 seconds to go now. Wildcard do have a man advantage, but Okami still have pretty good positions on site.
Cutie. The question is, do they expect him so close here? This could be monstrous if they're able to find it. The timing is pretty much going to be everything on the side of that play. Should Cutie decide to actually go for it? He is toying with us here, Raven.
He is. And look, he might not expect that Vinny is on the other side of the pillar. Not sure, but either way, Wildcard are going to have to start going for this plant. And Cutie might have to start getting aggressive. He's not spotted. He gets one medic. He gets the diffuser down. 10 seconds to go. Wildcard, they need to recover here.
And they still can. They've still got time to do it. 5 seconds left. Specker in a bit of an awkward position here at the back of pillar. He goes for the initial fight. They have to get off the defuser, and that is down. Okami, they will secure a second round on the basement defense there. And it was chaos. It was mayhem on the site, Raven.
Oof, it was. Cutie again, and just these positions he just managed to get himself into made such a big impact for Okami. He only got the single kill in the end. Oh no, I think it was the double. But regardless, it created that chaos. Wildcard had to just push aggressive, try to get that plant down. We're going to see it again. Really impactful play here in that final 15 seconds. Just, again, Wildcard not giving themselves much time to be able to recover if something goes wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, whoever was on the Goyo, this is one thing I'm terrible with, is the names at the very end of the round when we're seeing the plays come in. Whoever was on that Goyo, I'm just going to assume it was Jack Daddy there, pushing up close to that pillar hallway, I think really caught Wildcard off. I think they were expecting both of those players to still be a little bit deeper. But obviously that play did enable them to progress a little bit further, put the pressure back on the Wildcard. And like you said, timing is everything, and it's one thing that really has not been a friend or a shoulder for Wildcard to lean on in the past couple of matches, and we're seeing it really shine through in this example here, as that is 2 rounds now that Okami have just been able to burn the time and win purely off that. So
5 seconds left before insertion.
potential warning bells, warning signs ringing for Wildcard as we head to round number 5 now.
It did look better for Wildcard on that round at least,
Yeah.
compared to round 1. They got more control. They got some early picks at least. It's just that final messy part they need to tidy up. So they've got 2 more rounds in this half to do so. This is another repeat site. Okami won it way back in round 2. So let's see whether Wildcard can make some adaptations here. Previously, they just got picked off early. Cutie got a jump out on the back of some intel again. Something interesting is Wildcard haven't been bringing the IQ. Maybe they feel like it's not that much of an impact, but it feels like Cutie and Okami in general have really been benefiting from this extra info.
You can see the cams flicking there. And that is under the bedroom light shade, and obviously in games up in the shade once again of that light gives a lot of good coverage. So Wildcard, you would have to expect that they will have an inkling. Obviously the Valk being brought quite a few times now, and they have shown face. And he's still cautious. This is exactly where Geo had died in the previous defense on this site. So they're going to opt to have the run and gun of Vinny in that position.
Did spot out of outcam at least, so that's some info denied. Specker did get tagged low somewhere as well. Just missed that one. Putting some pressure in towards Kitchen, where of course there are two Okami players trying to hold verticals. So it looks like the intention from Wildcard is to clear the verticals. Geo does get one of them. Jack Dad being very cautious of this door. He is surrounded. I don't know if you can see that from the outlines. There are 3 entries to his position. Now Jack Dad is gone. Wildcard looking much cleaner on this attack.
A lot more pressure. They couldn't call upon Joker this time to save them from above. Cutie gets pushed off the angle for half a second and misses the rotate. Oh, wow. Vinny's just gone straight up white stairs and taking control of sight. That should allow Wildcard to progress a little bit further forward here. It doesn't look like they're going to opt to. In fact, they're happy to let him on his solo mission. But now it does allow Joker and Ippy style, once the dust settles, just to really calm back down and compose for what will be these final couple of seconds.
2v4 as well, still doable here for Okami, given that Wildcard have slowed it down. I think that was maybe something Vinny was trying to do, was just force the pace a bit more. Might be detrimental, because now it's 20 seconds. They're getting smoked out of sight as Ippistyle drops Diffuser out the double window, Manic.
Oh, he's going to see Geo jump through the wall as well. He can't find the kill, but it is traded from Joker. He now looks to get a little bit more aggressive. Pat, he goes the wrong way. He will surely have to swing here, and Pat will confirm the kill as Joker couldn't get the shots off in time. And Wildcard saved the round after what was a 2 versus 4. Pat will be thanked for that one as we now go 3-2 headed into round number 6.
Oh, I thought Joker had that, honestly. I really felt like that was going to be an Okami round. After Vinny died solo in the bedroom and there was no follow-up from his teammates, I was quite concerned. But hey, they brought it back. Here we go, last round of the half. If this goes to be a 3-3, I think Wildcard will be happy with that, given that most of these rounds have been relatively shaky.
Yeah. Yeah, really the kitchen meeting defense is the only one that I can think of where it was convincingly taken by Wildcard, and potentially that was just Okami trying to make an aggressive play in that situation. This time, Raven, they're not opting for the Valk.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, it looked like to me that it was working out well, but obviously there's a lot that we're not seeing and definitely not hearing with Team Comms, so deciding that they want to change it up here. I think it's a great decision to stick with this top floor because their third bomb site, it was the meeting and kitchen, it really didn't work out. Wildcard tore that to pieces. So may as well try and adapt on this one. They won it clearly the first time in round 2. They almost won it just previously, so why not try it again?
Just a reminder for anyone joining us, this is the top of the table clash in our final play day for the Oceanic Nationals regular season, and with that, Okami do have the opportunity to take first spot, but they also, should they lose this, there is a chance that they do get knocked out of top 2 and have to fight through the quarterfinals, whereas whoever does take that top 2 spot, they'll go straight to the semifinals. They'll get that chance to breathe easy a little bit, and there's a few more consequences in with that, but we'll touch on that a little bit later as we're now getting into that 2.5 minute mark, and Specker has been a bit of a nuisance downstairs, not so much in that previous round. They did well at shutting down both Specker and Jack Daddy Raven.
They did. I think that was really critical to Wildcard being set up to be better positioned in that round is just clearing out this vertical play. Looks like they're going to do the same again here. They're very much positioned for that. Ippy Style will find Geo though. That's a pretty big pick. Geo, an important player for Wildcard. That's going to be all the way into rear tower. That's going to be big because they're going to struggle to get this wall open. They can clear the mute jammer vertically, but it's obviously a lot easier with that Maverick just to trick that wall open.
Second time we've seen Geo be that first player off, being able to spot the player going into kitchen here, but he can't catch the rotate away. He was cornered like a rat, and he just bolted. Now Pat will pretty much leave that all to its own devices, and he'll push main stairs, getting that armory control. Wildcard not opting to try and deal with that vertical play just yet.
And again, that could be a bit risky depending how late they do this execute. They're at the double window now with over a minute, so it's a lot of pressure to put onto site, as they will find Vinny. That's a great pick from Vin here, but again, maybe a little aggressive. It's all falling apart, man. All of a sudden, it's only on Emo Rin. And here he is on site. He's just going to die to bullets. Okami will take the half 4-2, and that fell in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, I think it was, you know, you could see Vinny there. They were opening up that double window, and it looked like he was about to sprint through, and that really could have caught Okami sleeping, because that would have been the first round that we have seen Wildcard really explode on site. So from my perspective, I think that's just a play from Wildcard that they've tried to gamble there. The vertical control was very well held by Okami, and potentially that was just what they were looking to pull out here. Tachanka, you troll, on a clash. But regardless, that will end as a 4-2 half Raven in Akami's favor. And now we do go to what is considered in ANZ to be the more preferred side, defensively speaking, obviously.
See what Okami have in store for us on these attacks. Wildcard with this clash, I think, is a great pick because they'll be able to get lots of info heads up as well as stall out certain parts of the push. I'm thinking the clash is probably going to play around blue or pillar or somewhere like that. I think that's a good spot for clash to play, just to stall quick takes of that map, because that's important parts to control on your defense.
Some interesting setup from Wildcard on that first floor, and Diesel does fall back to site in the end. Thought potentially he may have joined the rest of the team up there, as Emo, Rin, and Diesel are currently the only two on site. I don't really need to tell you that. You can see that with your eyes, but that does make things a little bit more interesting should Okami read this. I don't think they're going to be able to. I don't think there's any way they'll actually know exactly what Wildcard are doing. And still it remains, with Emo Rin being the only player downstairs.
Yeah, quite an aggressive vertical setup here. Emo Rin could get rushed here. All they have to do is clear this Banshee, and there's a chance he could get rushed. He does have a tad backup with Diesel. Pat also can easily drop back to site through this hatch. So this is a lot more like a bit of a traditional old Oregon hold of Laundry that you would often extend up into meeting with castles and all.
Now will Okami take this one? Haven't seen this as much in the ANZ region anyway, so Joker now just dealing with the addict hold. A deep roam, as we're saying. Vinny just getting a little bit antsy in trophy there, looking to see if he can push down main stairs, potentially catch someone out from Okami. Specca may just be on the receiving end of that as he pushes very deep from split there. He'll find Pat as well. Vinny, however, he trades back. Ippy Style completely unaware of the positioning and aggressive play from Vinny.
Yeah, it looks like Vinny's just been generally set loose. He was initiating a lot of those attacks. Now, here he is in that roam. Imarins was pushed up the laundry stairs, decided to drop back. Just saw Gio get tagged. Must have been a grenade. Heard that explosion in the background there in that server room. He's got back up in the kitchen, so this is going to be hard to push this roam out if they try and frontally push it. Spec is the only one really even close. So maybe they're just going to try and hold that flank. But with less than a minute to go, Okami needed to get a move on in terms of putting pressure onto site. Because right now they're...
A 2-2 split. Spec nearly catching Geo there, proned. He will, however, see the rotate back down Freezer's stairs. So joining Diesel and Emo Rin now. There will be a third as Cutie drops to a fraction of HP on what sounded like a shotgun. Emo Rin has spotted that drop as he now tries to get a little bit more aggressive, and he's just going to play as a meat shield and stop anything that Spec is trying to achieve here. This could be absolutely menacing from Wildcard, and it is. They're dismantling Okami piece by piece, and there's nothing left. Jack Daddy, a 1 versus 4. Good luck. I think all you're going to achieve here is potentially a little bit of a KD buff, and he may even potentially to run away.
Nope.
He will not do so, and Diesel will shut down the round, but very nice from Wildcard in that one, Raven.
It was. The clash really did come into effect, but that roam, it took the attention of Okami for so long, and I really like it because Okami could have done a lot of different things besides the way they pushed that roam out, but it just took their attention. They decided they wanted to clear that roam. They wanted to get a man advantage, for example, which I think is really in line with the way Okami played their defenses. They played aggressive. They wanted to get that opening pick and put the pressure back on Wildcard. Now, it didn't really work out thanks to that flank from Vincia. He evened it out, getting out Ippy style. Now, that was significant because Ippy style was the best counter to Clash that Okami had in their lineup.
It's not a great start for Okami on the attacking side, however, brushing off the saddle. We're back up on top now. We will see Wildcard move to that Dorm's control, and Vinny will bring that Valk as well, just for the additional information. Seeing Valk just picked a little bit more often now, Raven. On Oregon, anyway.
Yeah, a lot of Valkyrie picks. I guess Wildcard are looking to do their own kind of aggression. You brought it up. They played all kinds of aggressive against Elevate, and that threw Elevate off guard. And right now, I think it's the play. If you get up in the face of Okami, it's again about dictating the pace, right? If Okami is getting aggressive and they get opening early advantages, I think given Okami's playstyle, they're more likely to close that round. So what can you do to change that? Well, you've got to up the pace. You've got to take control back of that. And if you do get those opening picks or just stall Okami out more, Wildcard are putting themselves in great positions to bring us back.
And that's one good point as well. Like, obviously, we know that Wildcard are used to stalling out up until the last couple of seconds, but how used to it are some of these other players potentially on the favor of Okami? Well, we'll wait and see whether that actually comes to fruition or not with Ippy style. I think Okami have really taken a fight anyway in the first half to Wildcard, and this could potentially all change here. 2 players underneath, which just seems to be the standard hold for Dorms anyway.
Big progress made from Okami right now. Just saw Jack Dad very thoroughly droning out around that master bedroom. They've cleared that mute jammer from the wall. Looks like they're going to go for this, but the impact trick is possible from the likes of Imarin, and he does go for that. So his impact trick is 1 Selma. Here comes yet another one, and he's got another impact in the pocket. So he's going to be able to clear 2 of those Selmas. That's a good job. That means they can only use 1 to get this all open and nowhere else.
Obviously, just to note, Wildcard were bringing Habana. Okami opt not to. They do have the Maverick, so only the potential for 1 hard breacher left, and they've already opened up Addict as well. So would you say this is good time, Raven? I mean, 1:30 and they've got Addict and Bedroom Closet open.
Yeah, I would. I think that's a lot of map control and pressure to put onto Wildcard. That being said, Okami have not cleared the vertical pressure, and given that they brought the Valkyrie for extra info, maybe they've got enough intel on site where they could rely on that vertical pressure in the late round to do something with it. Looks like Vince is actually going to go for quite the run right now. He's going to flank all the way up through Laundry in towards main lobby, and just as we say that, Ippy style has crept in. He is now in classroom. This could be an early engagement.
Surely Lightning will not strike twice in the same place, Raven. This would be the exact same positioning that Vinny managed to catch him off in the previous round. He's going to as well. Oh my god, deja vu. Never mind. Vinny will clear the kill up. And it does give the advantage to Wildcard. 30 seconds remaining, Raven, as they start to maybe hone in a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like this is where Okami just need to go. They'll have a 4v4 on site while Vince is still trying to rotate back. Probably gives them a good opportunity. And also, I feel like Okami thrive off the chaos. So right now, with 20 seconds, they need to create some chaos. They need to try and get onto site and make something happen, Matic.
Vinny now just getting into position for that C4 to potentially come through. Jack Daddy is going to be trying to stick that defuser. Does he hear the rip from Vinny? They're going to stick it as well. No, they're just not going to be able to get it down in time. And Wildcard, they will eventually flush out Okami. And that makes it 4-4 here on Oregon for map number 1 of our final Playday, Raven.
I feel like it's going to be a close one, Manic. I mean, we've talked about this potentially going to overtime. I would not be surprised. Right now, it feels like that's where we're heading. Okami are in touch with these rounds. That was close. And I think Vince's flank is really what teetered it back into favor of Wildcard there. If they had Ipistyle still up for that final execute, potentially something different would have eventuated. But I think it threw off Okami enough coming into that final moment that it did derail it. And right now we're seeing 4-4. Wildcard quite successful with these defenses 2 in a row. We get to see their third bomb site now. It's pretty much exactly how we saw it play out for Okami.
Yep, and that was literally what I was about to touch on, is the fact that this is not a sweaty position for Okami to be in. This obviously has been the way in most of the Oregon defenses we've seen. Those first 2 rounds are generally, I will say generally, convincing for the defensive side. And on the back of that now, Okami will be able to attack a less favored site. We will be heading to dining instead of meeting. So Wildcard opting for that small little change. And it does feel like Wildcard are picking Okami's number, but, you know,
10 seconds to go.
plenty of time left in this one. The game is young, if you will, in round number 9.
It is, yes, it is. We're very much accustomed now to seeing these go to 8-6 or 8-7, so it doesn't feel like feels like it's halfway now, so to speak. See whether it continues in that direction. See what Okami have in store for Wildcard on this attack, because it looks like they're going to try and take that small tower, seeing some outlines around it, and clearing out Imarin's going to be instrumental in being able to plant in dining. They need to get that small bathroom control. Even some vertical play is going to be important, and that's where Geo up in that bedroom is going to be pretty critical for that.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Cutie not wasting too much time in just starting to put the pressure to Wildcard a little bit more. Seeing a bit of an attic push here from Okami, and Ipistyle not taking any chances with the wonderful Vinny, who has taken him down 2 rounds in a row now on a flank. Spec up. How close is he? He won't continue to push that, not without the guidance or support of his team.
Yeah, really critical there is that there is a mute jam atop of white, so if Vinny didn't expose himself to the drone actively in the distance, Specker might not realize there's actually a crossfire in position. They won't have 100% info on that right now. And it looks like what they want to do is just absolutely meat grind Geo in this bedroom. We saw them do it against Knights. Pat, though, opens it up with the C4. That will derail it a little bit with Joker. That's the diffuser dropped as well. And there goes Specker. So falling apart quickly as Okami's attack on his top floor.
Yeah, Diesel from the vertical position, just ensuring that there's no pressure. One of the 2 players upstairs. Vinny was somewhat caught, you would say, but not intensely so. Well, no, intensely so. Cutie will catch him out, but Jack Daddy does fall down in response. Geo now, does he get flushed out? You better believe he's going to stand strong in this position. The C4 will not fully connect, and actually, that was on the Pat. Poor Pat. Poor Pat. He was none the wiser for that one.
No, it just dropped straight on top of his head, basically, but he survived. Ipistyle now knows it's just him and Geo in his position. He's going to lose out to that. The SMG-11 too strong, Geo too strong. Wildcard are in the lead for the first time in the game. They're up 5-4.
And definitely there are no doubts in that scoreline for Wildcard's performance here in the second half. I said it in the first half, I'll repeat it again. They are a very dominant defensive side, and no matter the scoreline in the first half, they have the mental fortitude that really continues to drive and almost innovate a space in the ANZ region. We've seen a lot of games from Wildcard where realistically we're looking at them being down and not necessarily out, but they do find a way. They do claw it back, and this is exactly the Wildcard that all of us have known to come and love. come to know and love, sorry. And I think that at the end of the day, I really have to pinpoint this for Okami now. Where do they get these rounds from, Raven? Because that's 3 convincing from Wildcard here.
Yeah, that third one definitely looked the least confident or least convincing from Okami. It felt like they just tried to throw it all at the wall and see what stuck, and nothing really did in that round. So I think if there's going to be a round that they get, it's going to be one of these next 2 on the more traditional sides, so Laundry or the top 4. They weren't too bad last time. This clash was just a big pain. If Ippy doesn't get fragged out early like he did in the previous attempts, they've got a better counter for the clash at least, and I think that's going to be really important.
So opting for a very similar looking setup, and obviously mentioned already, it will be that clash down in the basement that we'll be able to waste the time. Very much looking to Okami here to initiate, and this time they're going to put a little bit more pressure on Emo. I felt like we didn't see a lot of Okami even testing him down in blue, or at least trying to push him back, and they're going to double up here. So Spec Up, he'll be on the back of Ippy Style, and should they be able to do some damage here? It looks like they're coming down from the tower stairs as well. So they're looking to pinch with a little bit more pressure, Raven.
Yeah, it actually looks like they might be looking to go quickly here. And Cutie's just going to catch Diesel off guard. They had no idea that Cutie had taken pillars. And if they've got the tower control, the only real flank opportunity that Wildcard have right now is just this electric hatch that Pat is holding. So if they can deal with Pat or find a way to avoid him, they'll have really good control very early in this round.
Nice from Pat there. That is the Zofia. I think they still had 1 charge left to at least make Emo a little bit more uncomfortable, but there's no need to do that now. They're going to have to try and fight this with the bare bone knuckle strategy, as they still have to deal with Pat, who was up in meeting, and I don't think they've been able to do so just yet. He's still just holding back there, and now he's got a line directly onto that tower stairs. Obviously, 1 player still just sitting back and waiting, which is Joker. A minute 15, Raven. Do they have enough time to really uncover Wildcard's defense here?
I mean, Emo-Rid's going to be a pain, and they lost Ippy Style again, so no real direct counter of this clash. They have to get up in the face. Joker gets up in the face of Pat. He's gone from meeting. Geo stands strong on site, but Jack Dad, he is trying to stick this diffuser. Imo-Rid is right on him, but he drops the shield. Jack Dad hits the knife. He's going back for the plant. It's denied. It's 2 versus 2, Manic.
2 versus 2. Make that 1. Make that none. Geo will close it out. And Wildcard, once again, they do get the round, but this time less convincingly so than last. And small cracks being shown for Okami to potentially come back in this. I don't think they're going to be given a chance. Match point Wildcard as we now head to what potentially may be the last round. It's all on the shoulders of Okami here.
Yeah, I feel like that was such an opportunity for Okami to close that round. They did a good job, given the difficulty of that push, to be able to pull off what they did. It felt like once Imo-Rin died, that might have been what was needed to close it out, but they could not capitalize. So now, Okami need to be perfect on 2 rounds, to which they haven't been able to get any in their attacks, just to get it to overtime. Wildcard are definitely in the hot seat to close this map right now.
4 straight rounds since we swapped the sides, and this is all going to come down to the wire. Once again, I can't stress that Okami right now are leaving this wide open for second place. Noble and Knights both nipping at the heels. And just to once again reiterate, first and second seed go straight to the semi-finals and don't have to worry about those quarterfinals in the playoffs. So there are some pretty serious rewards in terms of really coming in big on this last play day. And it is, as we said, wide open for anyone to take. Wildcard ensuring that they do lock themselves in for first seed here.
Absolutely, and look, it's the expectations that we had of Wildcard at the start of the season. They've taken quite the zigzag road to get there, but I feel like it would still be justified if that's where this ends up. Vince, they're trying to get aggressive. He's tagged heavy, down to almost half HP. It's not the way you want to be in the first 30 seconds. I wouldn't be surprised to see Okami even dial it up a touch more. Try and be even more aggressive in the face of Wildcard. Just try and get control of this match again, because Wildcard, they pace matched Okami. They've taken over control of what Okami were doing so well in their defenses.
Well, that was nice and early that time. My goodness, that even felt like that was like a whisker off it. And at least they have line of sight into games and potentially a little bit deeper into Attic there. So Emo Rim will be displaced for now. Specker waiting down at the bottom of White Stairs window as Jack Daddy decides to go a little bit deeper here. So Attic now going to be opened up as another potential rotate position for Okami as they clear it out.
Yeah, again, the time management is very different between these teams. Like this attack, they have gotten some really good map control here, and they are pushing deep. They've found this opening pick too, so given that they've got that, the map control they've obtained, they're in a great position. We're still just over a minute to go. Ibrisal is deep in Attic right now. He is ready to put some pressure directly to these site players.
A bomb has been located.
Now that they do have themselves settled in a nice position in Trophy, very advanced for the minute mark, they will just be able to take their time in droning this out. They don't need to rush anything just yet, but we have seen what goes horribly wrong once Wildcard are given a place back into this round. And Specker, he's not having a bar of it. Vinny again. Surely we do not see this flank come off. He's going to find two of them. It'll be 3 kills for days. There's another player in Attic. Vinny could have just saved the round. It's being traded back and forth, and Emo Rin now in a 1 versus 2. No denial other than that soft wall. And it looks like it's going to be stuck here, Raven.
It is. Big oversight from Okami. They left that armory default open. They had all the info they needed for Vinci's flank. Not even down to any extra info from Valkyrie cameras. I know Imarin is trying to get these pre-fires. He's not going to get it. It's a trade, though. One alive will get Okami the rounds. Maybe we're going to see overtime Manic. That's the first attack that Okami have won, and they looked pretty good on it.
They certainly did, and potentially that was the aggressive play that Wildcard were trying to bring. You could see the flank was up the top of Tower Stairs trying to find those 2 players in Attic, and eventually a flank did work. Vinny obviously catching 2 off, and that could have been the linchpin. That could have been the round right there. That could have been match point said and done. Instead, back and forth we are going to go to dining as Wildcard, they are not looking to reattempt that dorm site. And this was arguably the most convincing round we saw from Wildcard.
That's right. That's right. I think this is a great call. I think Okami did not look at all comfortable attacking this. They tried to just do this really aggressive linear push in towards the kid's bedroom, where Gio just anchored in, and he had great cover from his teammates, both vertically and Vincia on the top of White Stairs. Outside of that, Okami didn't look like they had a massive plan. I mean, maybe they did, but it surely didn't appear like that. This was a flawless round in favor of Wildcard. Great call for them to come here.
Seconds remaining.
As we come down to it, potentially this could be overtime looming. As you said, Raven, probably not so much if last round on this defense if anything is anything to go by. And potentially, we know Okami, they are very good once they go on a roll. And that round that Wildcard let slip may come back to haunt them here. We'll see how Okami decide to deal with it this time. And surely it will be a little bit more confidently than the previous.
It's just actually a great site to counter what Okami like to do. There is no quick play on attacking this right now. They have to clear the shower's position of Imarin if they want to plant dining. Even clearing some of those verticals, Gio can hold a really long angle deep into dining if he is not pushed. And if they want to rush kitchen, for example, again, they need to clear out these vertical positions. There's just so many lines of sight into there. So they have to be thorough. They can't just do a quick fix or try catch Wildcard by complete surprise.
This might be a nice way of flushing Emo Rin out. He just goes a little bit deeper into showers, in fact. And he does have that exit rotate should he need it. A little bit more directed from Okami, you'd say, Raven.
Definitely. Yeah, this is good already that they have flushed out Emo Rin, but it has taken about half the rounds. So that's one thing. Time is ticking away from them ever so slowly. There's still so many positions that Wildcard can hold to deny a deep plant into dining. So they will have to try and get more pressure here. And more importantly, they're going to have to try and get an opening pick or some kind of man advantage, because otherwise it's going to be really tricky to get a plant. It might come down to more of a gunfight style execute.
And I'm not going to say that that would favor Okami, but still, we have seen how crazy they can go. And with that first player going down in Pat, you're starting to believe a little bit more. You're starting to believe that there is overtime yet looming large on the back of Wildcard's last round loss. Specker is more than game to try and initiate a fight there with Vinny.
Yeah, they've got that shower control, really important. They might try and get a plant near the dining doorway. That seems to be the safest, but they've got to control this hallway. They've got to control kitchen. With only 30 seconds, there's not too much maneuvering they can do now. They're starting to set up these smokes, so this might be it, Manic. They might be trying to set up this execute and push deep, but Gio denies that. The plant goes down, or the diffuser goes down. 20 seconds here, Manic.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
Okami scrambling to try and get the side here. Specker, he is going to stick it. I don't know whether Wildcard can deny it in this position. Specker's going to stick it down to the wire. Specker falls, but it's still stuck. And now a 1 versus 2 for Jack Daddy to save it and push it to overtime. He's on a fraction of health. This could be the round. The double swing comes out and Wildcard confirm it. They are going to finish out in first seed, in first place for the Oceanic Nationals region. Rather, not region. Never mind. They're going to end up on top, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. And this is what we've expected from Wildcard all along.
Yeah, like I said, they took the windy path there, but they got here, and they took this match to full regulation to do so. I've got to say, Okami, they did a great job in that final attack. Felt like they gave themselves a really good opportunity to push this to overtime. It was just too strong from Wildcard. Just a couple of key plays, Gio in particular, pre-firing through that smoke that dropped the diffuser in the first place. I think that was the real deal breaker there. But Okami put up a fight. Wildcard's still too strong. And as you said, they are now the top of the Oceanic Nationals going into playoffs.
Honestly, I can't believe Specker managed to get that plant then. I thought it was all done and dusted once that smoke bait came out. So you know what? They still gave themselves a fighting chance, and you have to give credit to what Okami have been able to do on the end of this season. They've had a really great last 4-match run, but that does come to an end with Wildcard stamping it out and really stamping their authority in the region and also in the Nationals. So without a doubt, I think that's well-deserved from Wildcard, Raven.
Oh, absolutely. They have played really well all season. I mean, it's been shaky, but nonetheless, they've been able to pull out victories. They have been able to show that they are still the strongest team in the region, or one of the strongest. But the gap is closer. I think some teams going into playoffs will be able to have a bit of hope.
I think the hope will really, that's the one thing we all try to grasp onto, right? And I think that's going to give a lot more when we do head into playoffs. But we do have Silex on the line nice and early after the matchup. So the raw emotion from Silex. Congratulations, my friend. You have taken the #1 spot in the Oceanic Nationals heading into playoffs. And by all means, an incredible last map from you guys.
Yeah, it's been a great season for us. Couple of hiccups here and there, but overall, boys played really well, and it's really nice to come out with a win today.
Yeah, I bet it does mean that you will lock into that top position in first seed, which is a great cushy spot to be coming into playoffs. I'd love to hear you guys decided to go to Oregon. First time we saw you guys on Oregon for the regular season. Was that all about Okami's multiple VODs that you could counter-strat? Where is the rationale with Oregon?
So the final two map choices came down to Consulate and Oregon. Evidently, we went to Oregon, but yeah, we were really tossing up between them because we think we're really strong on Consulate, but we haven't seen them play Consulate in a while, so they could have watched our match against Elevate and just counter-stratted us. So instead, we decided to just reverse the roles. We've seen 3 VODs on them. May as well use all that intel to help us win our match today.
Yep. Beautiful. Well, you know what, Silex? We'll keep it short and sweet today. Congratulations on the victory and, of course, the #1 seed heading into the playoffs. And we will see you in a week or two.
Cheers. Thanks, boys.
It's actually just around the corner. We should probably add to that. It is literally just around the corner. We are not even, 1 weekend to... We are next Friday, we start the playoffs, I believe, which is just crazy. This season has just flown by.
It has. It's just been, it's quite the blur. And I think because of the results, it's just confounded that feeling. But look, it does give the teams a bit over a week now to start prepping for playoffs. Wildcard, I'm sure, will start their prep straight away. Just that kind of team. And it was good to hear what Silex said about the rationale with the map veto. I think it was a great call to go to Oregon because, like he said, they had all that info on Okami, and Okami just had nothing on Wildcard. They had to adapt on the fly.
Do you think that is at all a mistake by Okami to take it, even leaving that toward the end?
I mean, I think it was fair enough that they left it in there because it's something that Wildcard haven't played and had been banning quite frequently early in their veto sessions. So I think it's fair from Okami to expect that it would have been banned, and especially when it came down to Consulate Oregon, you would assume it's going to go Consulate. So it's hard to fault them on not banning it, but the fact that it got picked, I just think was something that it worked against them.
And I think that, looking back, it was... That second half was just an absolute washout by Wildcard. They really looked like the stronger team. I think even that round that Okami were able to take, it was still even one of those things where it was like a whisker off. Vinny on that flank could have seriously just dismantled everything. And I do think that when we're looking for Okami's, play style on that attacking side, it's just countered by Wildcard so well. They're just such a great defensive team. And like you said, they just burnt through everything that Okami were trying to do. But speaking of Okami, we do have Specker on the line as the jolly man is always so happy. Look at that. Look at that cheesy grin. It's always so great to see you, mate. Look, likewise. To be honest, I don't think you guys can really be too upset with that. It's a 4. You guys come, second for now. It depends on how things go a little bit later in the night. But you guys are currently sitting in the second place of the standings, and it was still a close match.
Yeah. Are we second? Oh, that's good.
That's
moment. Great. Oh, well, I mean, happy days, I suppose, for the rest of the evening. To be honest, we started out the season rather shaky, so to bring it back to this point, it was good. Kind of sets the tone, hopefully, for the playoffs. Unfortunately, tonight we just couldn't really bring it together. Me, personally, I was supposed to have a lot of impact, and I didn't really do too much, to be honest. Kind of didn't feel out of place, but more so couldn't really get into the groove of the game. It is like that sometimes at Siege, some weeks you're feeling it, some weeks you're not. It is what it is, and... unfortunately, it resulted in our loss. We had a few good rounds here and there, but a lot to definitely work on, a lot to reflect, and time to change up some of our Oregon, I think, for maybe the playoffs. She's getting a bit predictable, isn't she?
Maybe a touch. Look, it's something that Silex did mention is that they did have a lot of that info on you guys. That was ultimately their decision maker in that veto process.
Nice.
So I don't know whether I have a whole lot of questions with you, but I think the feeling for you guys must be pretty good given that at the start of the season it was looking a little bit grim, but then you've 180'd very quickly and you guys have peaked at the right time. So the feeling must be still pretty good coming into playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we came into this match with the mentality, not necessarily, it doesn't matter, but, we've done our hard yards. Let's just have fun, have a good game, and, come out with a win. Unfortunately, we didn't come out with a win, but what can we really expect? We've played this map so much. I'm sure Silex had a field day coming through us with his big old textbook, which, props to him. It's good. We need that side to Siege. So, it was good to see them do some decent counterplaying here and there. They had some unique holds that we, questioned. I think basement, actually, the hold down there was pretty unique with the clash. That was pretty neat. I did a doozy one time. I accidentally fell down the hatch, and I was, all of a sudden in sight. would have been able to kill the, I think it was a Muterus smoke. But yeah, Clash has just given me a big old headbutt and a little kiss on the cheek right there, so I couldn't really do too much. But yeah, look, they had a good hold and they played a good game, and yeah, it was really fun, and hopefully it was fun to them and to you guys for watching. So yeah, smiles all around.
Yeah, we just expect everything that you do is so calculated, Specker, so we're shocked to hear that you've fallen down a hatch.
Yeah, definitely. That's very intentional. Yeah.
That's great, mate. That's great. Thank you very much for the insight,
Sure.
mate. We'll see you next weekend when we
No
turn to the
stress.
best of 3 format. And
Looking forward to it.
enjoy your week, mate.
Pleasure as always. You too. Catch you, lads.
Again, we're looking toward the end of the season, and win or not, they are proud, and they have to be. They really should be, with what has been what was a turbulent start and a very shaky performance against the likes of Ferox and Elevate. To be able to really claw this back against 3 teams that really mattered at the end of the day, with Noble, Knights, and Wildcard, I think this is great tread and a great stead for them to head into going into playoffs.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think they should be feeling good. Of course, it's not great to get the loss tonight. Like Specker said, they were looking for the win regardless. But if you look at the overall season, at one point they were not expecting to even be in close running for top 2. It was looking quite dark, potentially that 5th, 6th kind of placement. But they really turned it around quite quickly as well, because as we've said, this format of this season has been very short. And there's no room for error, so they've just been able to 180. I think that's a great sign for them and something they can use as confidence going into their playoff matches.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is match 1 done and dusted. It leaves the 2nd place wide open for the taking here. On the other side of the break, we've got Knights and Rhythm. Don't go anywhere.